Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, all the talk at the start of the season was just how good Ferrari and Red Bull have been in pre-season testing and that Mercedes could well be so far off the pace that they would enter the 2019 season with the third fastest car on the grid. All the signs pointed to an epic title fight and a real battle for the Silver Arrow to retain their championships. However, the team kicked off the season with 5 straight 1-2 finishes and 8 straight wins. Third fastest, not a bit of it. Of course, there were races like Bahrain where they were able to pick up the pieces of Ferrari's reliability issues and capitalising on that penalty for Vettel in Canada. But the fact of the matter is, whilst other teams and drivers were making mistakes, they were not. We had some great races in 2019 and many actually feel it was the best season of the turbo hybrid era. But when it came to the championship titles, it wasn't even close in the end. The Silver Arrows racked up 15 wins, 739 points, that's 235 more than second place Ferrari, and went on to pick up their 6th consecutive Constructors title, and thanks to Lewis Hamilton, their 6th consecutive Drivers title as well. Absolutely dominant. I am running out of words to describe just how incredible that team have been since 2014, and this season was another year that showed just what can be achieved if everyone at a team is pulling in the right direction, and in the case of the drivers, all pulling their own weight. They just never seem to put a foot wrong, although Germany was a bit of a cluster flip for them, wasn't it? That was nearly a slip-up. Very poor weekend overall, with probably more mistakes in one race than we've seen over the previous few years combined. At least it feels that way at times anyway. I'm just looking through their results trying to find something to almost nitpick at, other than that mad day at Hockenheim. The thing is though, even at weekends where they struggled, they picked up decent results, and if one driver had problems, the other one picked up the pieces. So as examples like Austria and Singapore, where on paper you'd expect them to be off the pace, they still took 3rd and 5th and 4th and 5th respectively. Then you look at races like Canada and Hungary where Bottas was off the pace, or in the case of Hungary had to make his way back through the field, Hamilton still won them. Like I say, other than going around and nitpicking, there's not really a lot to say on their season negatively. It was just another absolutely superb year, and I don't think many would bet against them making it 7 at the end of 2020, although I will say, if they do go on to do that, I hope it isn't wrapped up until Abu Dhabi. We could really do with a proper good season finale. And do you know what, as I said with the team, what can I really say about Lewis Hamilton in 2019? That's 6-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. I said this a few weeks back, but I never expected that from him when he debuted back in 2007. Honestly, I could see that he was special, it was quite obvious. And I was very confident he would pick up more than one title, but 6? Never. And also, when you look at that period between 2009 and 2013, it did look like he was never destined to win another, didn't it? But I guess that's just the level of Mercedes' dominance and his incredible talent. The fact he's been able to win 5 of the last 6 titles is phenomenal. In 2019, he picked up 11 wins, and that equals the most victories he's personally ever taken in one year, 17 podiums and a total of 413 points, finishing 87 points clear of his nearest rival and teammate Valtteri Bottas, and 135 points clear of third place Max Verstappen, the closest challenger from another team if you like. Again, absolutely dominant. Probably unsurprisingly, he won the teammate battles too, out-qualifying Bottas 14-7 with an average gap, according to racefans.net anyway, of just over 1/10 of a second, and beat the Finn 15-6 in the races. And let's be honest, it was never really in doubt. The only downside to his season, if you can even call it a downside, is that he didn't deliver the pole positions we are so used to him grabbing. In 2017 and 2018, he took 11 poles over the course of both of those years, but in 2019, he only took 5, the same number as his teammate, and actually, interestingly enough, his worst tally since 2013 when he also scored 5. Look, I know it's not a huge issue for a driver who still managed to win 11 races despite not starting on pole every weekend, but given that he is probably the best driver over one lap at the moment, it's quite surprising that he didn't take more. Something to work on for next year perhaps. I don't know, again, like I said when I was waffling about Mercedes, I'm finding it very difficult to know what to say about his season. I suppose it is worth noting that although it looks like it was easy when you look at the final standings, it was far from it this year. Red Bull were way more competitive than many expected, and I did properly enjoy watching some of Hamilton's battles with Verstappen this year. He also had to really fight as well when Ferrari finally turned up, and again, I loved seeing him and Leclerc go toe-to-toe for the first time proper at Monza. I'll tell you what though, next year could be huge for him. Lewis could equal Michael Schumacher's record of 7 titles, and he's got a great chance to break the record for most career wins as well, which, as a Schumacher fanboy growing up, is gonna sting a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But if he does do it, I will not take anything away from him. I won't be salty at all, because it will be thoroughly deserved. He is the best driver in F1 at the moment, and he will be ranked right towards the top of the list of all-time greats. And I'm going to leave my point on Lewis Hamilton here. It's not all the car. Again, gap to teammate in an identical car, 87 points. If it was all the car and the driver made no difference, that gap would not be that big. That's a fact. As for his teammate, it's been a funny old year for Valtteri Bottas. 2019 has undoubtedly been his best season for Mercedes, both in terms of stats and how he's driven as well. And you know, quite probably his best in F1. We had the whole Bottas 2.0 porridge beard thing at the start of the year, all good fun, but in all seriousness, you can't deny that he appears to have taken a huge step forward. He also had the luck on his side this year, something that eluded him for part of 2018. He was resurgent and was clearly out to answer his critics. You look at some of his stats over the course of the year, he snapped up 5 pole positions, the same as his teammate, again one of the best over one lap, and managed to take 4 wins along the way, stand on the podium 15 times and help the team cruise to another constructor's title. It wasn't a perfect first half of the year for him though, with a disappointing showing in Canada, and he really struggled for form as the season approached the summer break. But he did say towards the end of the season, didn't he, that was because of all the speculation around his future, and that he felt that had some form of an impact on his performances, so at least that explains some of the drop-off. And I really hope that Toto Wolff is true to his word when he says that he's going to handle all that speculation differently in 2020. Still though, forgetting that for a second, if he wants to be fighting Hamilton for the title, he can't have phases like that. He has got to bring his A game every single weekend. What was good to see this year though for Bottas was that he also managed to get on top of his second half of the season issues, if you like, his curse. In previous years, he struggled after the summer break, but this year his results were far better, his performances, more importantly, were far better, and he also managed to pick up a couple of wins along the way. In complete and total honesty, I don't think it deserves the hype that some are giving it, but he absolutely should get a lot of credit for getting on top of it. My issue is that regardless of how much better he has been this season, and I'm not denying that for 1 second, he did still end up a long way off his teammate in terms of points, and was well beaten in all the teammate battles as well. Now, of course, he is up against the best, and so you've got to expect there would be some kind of gap there, but 87 points is huge, and he has got to do his best next year to bring that deficit down massively. Like I say though, if you take into account things like his summer drop-off, then yeah, he would have been closer. So maybe if his future had been secured before that, we might have seen some form of title fight. But again, I don't want to take anything away from Bottas' season because he has been far better. I do want to bring this up. Last winter, I was very critical of Bottas' 2018 season, and you know what? I stand by every single thing I said at the time. Because at the time, the fact of the matter was, whether people like it or not, he hadn't been good enough. And a lot of people seem to be hiding behind the whole team orders and bad luck thing that only accounted for less than a third of his season. But I was clear, and this was missed by quite a few people because, you know, the internet and people picking the words out that they like to fit their narrative. I was absolutely clear that I wanted to see him step up in 2019 and show what he's got, and he absolutely did. There is still a lot of room for improvement. Again, I look at that gap to his teammate. But when you look at his pole positions this year as an example, and just his performances out on track, he's been more aggressive as well. Last year he bottled a few moves. This year he wasn't afraid to get his elbows out. That is a big step in the right direction. Ultimately though, as I've said so many times before, he is the Mercedes number 2 driver. His job is to pick up the points for the team consistently, bring home the results when Lewis Hamilton has an off weekend, and help the team to the title. And guess what? That is exactly what he's done in 2019. So whilst he can build on that and maybe challenge for the title next year, or aim to challenge for the title next year, he is ultimately doing the job he was employed to do. And so therefore, it's difficult to be overly critical of his 2019. And by the way, it is worth throwing this in here just to finish off. I do think they were right to keep him for 2020. I don't think there were many better options out there that were available, and he's done a very good job in 2019 to help the team to the titles. I just really hope he can deliver again next year and improve further, and it would be great to see him involved a little bit more closely in that title fight. Not that we got much of a fight this year, but you know what I mean. All in all though, what a season for Mercedes, and for both of their drivers as well, for very different reasons. Huge congratulations to all of them, and as I've already said, who would bet against them making it 7 next year? That is it then for this video and for these end of season team rambles or waffles, whatever you want to call them. But don't forget that you can let me know your thoughts on Mercedes' season down in the comment section. And do you think they will still be the team to beat in 2020? Now, this is the last video that's going up on the channel before Christmas, and I am going to be taking a few weeks off to kind of enjoy the festive period, have a break from what's been a very long season, a fantastic season, but a long one. There are videos scheduled to go out after we've got Christmas out of the way, but I do just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to all of you for your support this year. And if you celebrate it, I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a fantastic New Year. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.